Jay Baba, Jay Baba, everyone. Welcome to 248 Quail Street in Albany, which is not only my flat, but the Baba Center, not only for Albany, Schenectady, but for Western Mass and Southern Vermont. And this is a really kind of cool day, a nice day, October 7th, to share with you all because we've just celebrated St. Francis' reunion. I think it was the 795th with his Lord. And in 6 days, we're going to be celebrating Erich's birthday. So I'm going to combine the two. And but first, I'd like to start. We can just sing Bob's name, and this is a tune that Debbie Nordine loves to sing so much. I'm just going to sing it without the verses. It's Ward's tune. I think it's the perfect tune to sing Baba's name, and I can take my daily walk and just sing it on and on and on, without even thinking about the verses. So, Meher Baba, 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 oh Meher Baba, Meher Baba, oh Meher Baba, Jai Baba. One little caveat here, occasionally my computer just goes black. It just gets in a mind of its own and just shuts off. So just, if that happens, it probably won't. But if it does, just sit tight and I can probably restart it in about 45 seconds. That's just Maya playing tricks. So what I want to start with, I want to start in honor of St. Francis playing on the recorder here the tune to that lovely Donovan song, Brother, Sun, Sister, Moon. Then I'm going to go right into a Francis-like story. It's not the story from the life of St. Francis, but it's a little legend from the life of Saint Mungo, the patron saint of Glasgow, Scotland. And he lived in the 6th century along with Saint Cerf. And Billy Jackson, who's a wonderful Scottish harpist, played in traditional group Ossian, and who actually lived in Asheville for at least 10 years and was a music therapist.
What's the name? What's the name
Billy
of that band?
Jackson, William
I
Jackson.
mean, from Scotland. Scotland.
Saint Mungo, Mungo.
Oh,
Yeah. And anyway, he's composed some wonderful suites, and this is a little piece from the suite from Scotland called the suite from Glasgow called The Bird. And the story is that Saint Cerf had a pet robin, and one day the other brothers were fooling around, and they accidentally killed the robin. And deciding not to blame it on themselves, they blamed Saint Mungo. Well, Mungo came, didn't defend himself, but he took the little bird in his hands and blessed it and prayed over it, and the robin came to life and fluttered around. So right after the St. Francis tune, I'm going to go right into that tune, and then let me just see what I have here. Oh, I'm going to tell a tale, another animal story, one of my favorites, a Jataka tale that Lord Buddha used to tell to his disciples about a beautiful golden deer. And then we'll do a couple of songs, and then we're going to move right on to Erich. And I've got lots of Erich stories to share from Mondley Hall. So, Brother, Sun, Sister, Moon. Here's a little tune called The Bird, part of a suite called The Bird. Little robin coming back to life and hopping around. And now, the tale of the golden deer, the legend of the golden deer, and I'm going to introduce it as I've done so many times when I've told this story over the years with the tune that Bob Brown put to Josephine Ross's beautiful poem, At the Sound of Thy Flute, O Krishna. Ages and ages ago, when the great land of India was covered with forests, deep in one of those forests, high in the foothills of the Himalaya mountains, there lived a deer whose coat was the color of pure gold. His eyes sparkled like jewels, his antlers rose above his head like a silver wreath, and his hoofs sparkled so much in the sunlight that he was known as Goldenfoot. Now, Goldenfoot was the king of all the gentle deer in the forest, and for years he and his queen, a lovely young doe, ruled peacefully and happily till one day a clever and crafty hunter appeared in the woods. And he hid and he watched, and he observed that every morning and every evening the deer would walk down a long, long track of grass to a stream and a trap. He took a long, long piece of rope, tied it around a tree branch, and made a noose on the other end and hid it in a clump of grass along that path. Well, that afternoon, there was Goldenfoot trotting way ahead of the other deer when suddenly his hoof caught in the noose. He kicked and pulled and kicked and pulled and tugged, but the more he tugged and kicked and pulled, the tighter that noose came, till it got so tight that he cried out in pain. Now, all the other deer had never heard their leader cry out like that before. They were terrified and they scattered, all except his queen. She trotted up to his side and said, "Come on, Goldenfoot, you're stronger than you think. Try to break out of that noose." So he kicked and tugged some more, but the noose just held fast. The queen thought to herself, what are they going to do without their leader? They can't live without him. I have to do something to save him. So she spoke to Goldenfoot and said, "Goldenfoot, I'm going to stay here by your side. And when that hunter comes, I'm going to plead for your freedom." They didn't have long to wait before there was thumping and crashing through the brush, and a fierce-looking hunter with a long, scraggly black beard appeared. He had a spear in one hand and a knife in the other. He strode right up to the deer, raised that spear, and quickly and bravely, the queen took a step forward and said, Wait, sir, please, please, please. The one you have captured is wise beyond compare. He's the king of all the deer in the forest. Please spare his life. Take my life instead." The hunter was dumbfounded. He'd never heard of any human being offering to give their life for their king or their queen. But he looked at that great golden animal and thought of all the food his family could have, and his hand tightened on the spear. Then he looked in the queen's eyes, and he saw not fear but kindness, and he thought that he often saw forgiveness. something started to happen in that hunter's heart, and something started to melt and melt and melt and melt and melt. All of a sudden, that hand, which had been gripping this spear so tightly, began to shake and quiver and shake and quiver, and suddenly it flung open, and the spear clanked to the ground. And the hunter spoke to the queen and said, "Today you have spoken to me so sweetly in the language of men that I grant you your life, queen of the deer, and I grant freedom to the king of the deer." And the hunter went over and started to unbind with his knife that noose that was binding Goldenfoot's hoof. And as he did, Goldenfoot thought, "Ha, this hunter looks mean and cruel, but he has a kind and noble and fair heart. I'm going to give him a reward." So when Goldenfoot was free, he trotted to a nearby tree, pawed at the ground, and unearthed 3 shining magic jewels. And he gave them to the hunter and said, "These wish-fulfilling gems will provide for you and your family for the rest of your life. So never hurt any living creature again, and wherever you go, always try to help and serve others in need." And reminding the hunter to heed those words, Goldenfoot and his queen trotted off into the ancient Indian forest. That's a Jataka tale from Lord Buddha, a version of one of his tales. And Buddha said that he had been that golden deer, and the other 2 parties in that little drama there, they were his disciples. And he said to the soul that had still been the hunter, he said, you still got some cruelty in you. You still got to work out some things in this lifetime. Let's do a couple of songs. And as you will notice, I'm doing all a cappella tonight, because I have got guitar elbow, also known as tennis elbow. And I'm out of commission. I won't see a specialist till the end of the month. So I'm enjoying just a cappella. I hope you'll enjoy it. And I want to open with a song that I really enjoyed off one of the early Baba albums, Songs of the Eternal Shepherd. And it's sort of around, and it sort of has an Arena Machiavelli feeling to it. And it's called "You Are Born to Love the Living God." I don't know if any of you remember this or not, but if you I'll go through it 3 or 4 times and you sort of get in a roundy mood, we can go around. You are born to love the living God. You are born to love the living God. God in you is new birth. God in you is pure love. God in you is new life. God in you is God in everyone. You are born to love the living God. You are born to love the living God. God in you is new birth. God in you is pure love. God in you is new life. God in you is God in everyone. You are born to love the living God. You are born to love the living God. God in you is new birth. God in you is pure love. God in you is new life. God in you is God in everyone. You are born to love the living God. You are born to love the living God. Meher Baba, Meher Baba. You are born to love the living God. Jai Baba. I'd like to follow that with one of my favorite Everly Brothers song, Let It Be Me. People have changed it to Let It Be You and this and that and added lines. I added just one line toward the end. I like the original words. And I'm just going to go here and make sure. I got my piano. I'm set up by my piano here so I can get the right note to start these a cappella songs off on. Let's see. We got a G. All right, here we go. God bless the day I found you. I want to stay around you. So I beg you, let it be me. Don't take this heaven from one. If you must cling to someone, now and forever, let it be me. Each time we meet love, I find complete love. Without your sweet love, what would life be? So never leave me lonely. Tell me you love me only, and that you'll always let it be me. Each time we meet love, I find complete love. Without your sweet love, Baba, what would life be? So never leave me lonely. Let me live for you only, now and forever. Let it be me, now and forever. Let it be me. La 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 la. Jai Baba. All right, let's have some, with Erich's birthday coming up on the 13th, I'm going to share some stories. I have here from the 1970s and the very early 80s, my 170 pages of typewritten journal, mainly stories. Ton of stuff in here. Some of them you may have heard, some maybe not. And I want to introduce these stories, and we're going to do some songs in between. We're sort of going to mix it up with a tune to a song that Baba wrote in the early 40s in Dehradun called Guna Gara. And I'm sure Erich was with Baba at the time. And I have a picture here I'd like to show you all. It's of Erich and his uncle, Nashuan Mama. This was taken by Dana Ferry. And that grand old man, one of the first brothers who walked across those fields in the early 20s and recognized Baba as Zoroaster. Nashuan, also known in Lord Maher as Dusarwan Sutta, he was the one who was very involved with Gandhi and was one of the pillars of Akbar Press, and I remember him so well with Dunn at Akbar Press. So there they are, that amazing duo. So I'd like to start off.
Did you know that Dr. Ghani gave Nashawan Mama a homeopathic book, how to study, yes. And he became a homeopathic doctor in jail.
He did. Well, I was treated by him, as I'm sure some other Baba lovers were, who were staying here. Well, we're going to go I'm going to read just a little bit of something from the journal, and then maybe share some stories. But this is January 25th, 1979, and I wrote down a few things that Erich had said, and then just some impressions. His presence was enough. The work was his. All I know is that Baba is here with me and I am here to serve him. Our religion was obedience to him. The morning was spent in Mandalay Hall. These are impressions.
Oh dear. Well, it's funny because Bill had said that on occasion his computer would black out, and it has. So I don't know if he even know. He may know, he may not. He probably does. I don't have a phone number to call him to let him know, I don't think.
Actually, when I was in India, my first time in 1976, and it was Erich's birthday, October 13th. And we says, "What do you want for your birthday?" Erich, and he says, "I want to die." Kind of killed the party. But actually, he had a stroke that year. He had a stroke, and he went to Bindra House to recover. Yeah, his mom and his sisters took care of him. Yeah.
Mhm. It looks like Bobby's got a phone. This is good. Bobby's on the case. You are born to love the living.
Living God. Born to love the living God.
Might not answer. He might.
Wait, there he is. He just popped up. Oh, shoot. Did he come and go?
There he
No.
is. There he is.
Oh, is he
There
back?
he is. Yay.
Oh, it
Bill,
could be an
the picture-
imposter.
Picture went
Wait a
off.
minute.
I warned you guys. I
There you go.
just playing tricks with my computer.
We're
It
so
has-
glad.
it
Thanks,
has-
Bobby.
It has a mind of its own. What can I say? So let me get back to what I was going to read. Very informal tonight. I was going to say these are just impressions of someone who's very early in coming to Bob. And some of my first impressions of Erich. January 25th, 1979. The morning was spent in Mandalay Hall with Erich. How he sits there so calm and poised like a Buddha, so strong and gentle. He talks with Baba's children for hours on end, relating what it was like to be with and serve his Lord, our Lord. This is his duty and his role, whether composed and serene as he was today, or tired and drained and feeling his separation from Baba, as I have seen on other occasions. He shares and shares until there is seemingly nothing left. And yet somehow he always finds the time and strength for a few more stories at the end of the day. One hears of how Baba would push the Mandali far beyond the normal limits of human endurance. And one feels that he still does this with Erich, a shining example of mastery and servitude. So here's a story. I was starting with some stories about Erich himself and his relationship with Baba. And if I can find it here. Let's see, we're talking about 74. 33, page 33. Yeah. Ah, yes. He spoke of how, when he first came to Baba, how good-natured and even-tempered he was. After joining Baba, however, he found himself becoming easily upset and throwing all sorts of moods. One day when he was feeling really tormented, he asked Baba, "What's happening to me? What's going on?" And Baba gave the following analogy. "You were like a good, fresh piece of sugar cane when you first came to me. But then, to get juice from you, I had to grind you and grind you. But that wasn't enough. So I decided to make you pure crystal, so I boiled you. And when sugar is boiled, all the scum comes to the surface. That is why you are experiencing all these things which you didn't think you had inside you." Sound familiar? And I remember in those early days, not only did Erich take people up Seclusion Hill, but he would take them to Pimplegown, and we would go around the village, meet some of the village elders, see the potter, and he would take us to some sugar cane that was being boiled, and we could actually see the scum coming to the surface. So back in those days, I thought, oh, Erich is just a good storyteller, not realizing that this was our education. Sugar-coated a little bit in his very kind and gentle nature. So I've got one other one I want to share with you, and then we'll do a couple more songs. This is from 1982. A couple of good stories. This is called "Always Room for One More." Baba and the Mandali had gotten off a train in Mumbai after a long tour, and Nariman had met them with a car, a real luxury, considering how exhausted they were. They sat out on the Bombay-Pune road and were cruising at a comfortable speed when Baba had the car slow down and stop for an old man who was trudging along with a huge bundle on his head. Baba asked him his destination. Pune, he said. Baba then invited him to ride with the group and gestured for the Mandali to make room for the man and his enormous bundle in the back seat. Erich was flabbergasted because there were already 4 Mandalis squeezed into that small space. But Baba, he said desperately, where to put the huge bundle? And Baba just gestured, put it on your laps. Erich got out in exasperation and said, Baba, you take the old man, I'm going to walk. Eventually, they all managed to fit in the back of the car, and Erich regrets to this day the sarcastic remark that he had made to Baba in a fit of exhaustion. He commented further that Baba would often try to make room for one more, whether it be in a railway compartment, a crowded bus, or a passenger car. And I remember also saying that Erich said that Baba had a fondness for old men with beards, especially white beards. I really like that. And then some of you might know this story, but I'm just going to read it as I wrote it. This is in the early days, again, when Erich was having his moods. In the early days of Mehrabad, when Erich was first beginning to serve his Lord, a man was spotted walking up Mehrabad Hill toward the ashram where the ladies were located. Baba quickly summoned Erich and ordered him to chase after the man, find out who he was, and soundly chew him out for trespassing in that forbidden area. Erich dashed up the hill and accosted, to his surprise, a well-dressed gentleman who very calmly stated that he had come for Baba's darshan. Despite his innocuous appearance and intentions, Erich gave the man a sound tongue lashing and even threw in a few tight slaps for good measure. Grabbing him by the scruff of the neck, he brought him down the hill to Baba to account for his actions. Much to Erich's chagrin, Baba received the man with a great outpouring of love, caressed him, and thanked him for coming for his darshan. Baba then said, how blessed one is to be able to have my darshan. How much more blessed you are to have been humiliated by this man, pointing to Erich, in the process. And Erich went on to say that for anyone to come to the Lord and be humiliated in the process is indeed a very great blessing. So, got a couple of Bauji songs here. I think you'll like these. This is the first one is "You Remember Us as Smiling." The second one is one that I took off a mimeograph sheet that Bao gave to a lot of the singers and put a tune to it. Now I got one more song and we'll have some more stories. So this is Bauji, one of my favorite songs. May earn my tears today, your remembrance is smiling. Why has the hope for union not arrived? I know you are 1,000 times nearer to me than breath, but oh, that distance is so very wide. The pain I have is dear to me, and that is why I'm weeping, for my pain has captured you. I've been endlessly walking beneath you, yet I have not found the way from here to here. Oh, may here in my tears today, your remembrance is smiling. Why has the hope for union not arrived? This is a carol of my restlessness. My call goes to you through this song. Can there be some reason, dear, why you don't draw near? For without you, how can I carry on? I am burned to ash in the fire of song. Now that ash lies weeping, oh, now that ash lies weeping. Ah, what a plight, my dear, has made for me. O Meher, in my tears today, your remembrance is smiling. Why has the hope for union not arrived? Why has the hope for union not arrived? I'm just going to get my note for this next song. For you, those of you who are sort of late joining, I'm doing a cappella tonight because I have an injured left elbow and can't grasp the guitar. But in one sense, I feel absolutely liberated from having to clutch something and feel all constrained and constricted when I'm singing. Anyway, let me just get my note for this this song for Bauji here. E flat. I am weeping, I am crying, and I long for you. And my longing is composing a fine song for you. Please come down with your crown, kiss me, dear, today. Dear Baba, Meher Baba, come here today to stay, to stay, to stay, to stay. You are Son and you are Father, you are Ancient One. You are matchless, you exist, all else is illusion. You are Avatar and perfect man, I truly say. Dear Baba, Meher Baba, come here today to stay, to stay, to stay, to stay. You are seeker, you are guide, you are goal so grand. You are the friend of everyone, the world is in your hand. You are love, you are mercy, you are truth's way. Dear Baba, Meher Baba, come here today to stay, to stay, to stay, to stay. I am weeping, I am crying, and I long for you. And my longing is composing a fine song for you. Please come down with your crown, kiss me, dear, today. Dear Baba, Meher Baba, come here today to stay, to stay, to stay, to stay, to stay, to stay, to stay. Jai Baba. Got one more song before we have some more stories. Let me get my note here. If I can find my list of songs. Let's see. Middle C. Middle C looks good. Now this song is a really special song. In the last year, I've really taken and learned 5 or 6 songs from Kate Rusby, this wonderful, wonderful folk singer and singer, composer of songs from England, from Yorkshire. And this song, I finally got it. Many of her lyrics are available on Google, so I Googled the lyrics. It was right at the height of the suffering, all the suffering that one could see on the video going on in India from the pandemic, these terrible scenes of people in desperation outside of hospitals and all. And as I looked at the words, I thought, oh, if this song could just be translated and to be sung to everyone in India, because it seems like Baba has written every word in this song. We could take it personally. It's something you could maybe play for someone in a hospice. And Kate wrote it. It's called Until Morning. I urge you to look at the original on YouTube. It's so beautiful, as are many of her songs. R-U-S-B-Y, Kate. She wrote it for a friend who was going through a really, really hard time. And I thought, boy, if I had a friend that could write a song for me like this, wow. So with apologies to her, I can't in any way match the beauty of her voice. It's so, so deep in the heart and so from the heart. But I'll try. In the deepest, darkest hour, where the strongest soul will cower, and it feels like it's so long till morning. I know your weary head needs rest, and we both know you've done your best. So I'll hold your hand until the day comes dawning. I know the world's been cruel of late, and your heart can't bear the weight, and it feels like it's so long till morning. But together we are bound, so I will keep you safe and sound, and I'll hold your hand until the day comes dawning. Don't worry, let the night go drifting by, and tomorrow you can fly. In the dark night you are lost, counting stars to count the cost, and it feels like it's so long till morning. So I will catch the moon's bright beams to guide you gently through your dreams, and I'll hold your hand until the day comes dawning. When there's stillness all around, and your heart's a deafening sound, and it feels like it's so long till morning, I will stay with you, old friend, and you can heal and you can mend, and I'll hold your hand until the day comes dawning. Don't worry, let the night go drifting by, and tomorrow you can fly. Now it's time to make your peace. Into the night your fears release, and it feels like it's so long till morning. And we will claim the night for ours, and we won't see the dark for the stars. And I'll hold your hand until the day comes dawning. Don't worry, let the night go drifting by, and tomorrow you can fly, and tomorrow you will fly. Thank you, Kate Rusby, and to me, every word of that is from Baba. To each of us, no matter what we're going through. Well, time for some stories. I got to get my notebooks organized here. Let's see, where are we here? Oh yeah, 1979, 1974. This is just a scene, a little scene that I love. See, page 24. This is like a scene that Eric described when they were on the Blue Bus tours. And I just thought, wow, this would be a great scene in a movie about Baba. One morning, very early, about 4 a.m., Baba and the Mandali were driving through a forest area on a bus tour. Suddenly, the stillness of the Indian night was broken with chanting, Allahu, 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 Allahu. Baba motioned for the car to stop, and they sat there listening to this continuous repetition of the Lord's name. They could see nothing. Alighting silently from the car, they crept through the woods a ways until they came to a clearing where there was a large domed Muslim shrine. There stood six men, totally lost in rapture, chanting Allahu, Allahu, Allahu. Baba and the Mandali stood spellbound for a few moments, watching this wonderful scene, and then left unobserved. Allah himself had come to watch these men pray to him. Now, I just want to interject before another Eric story. This is January 26, 1979. And this is like a little personal anecdote about what I call the road, meaning the road that would pass by Lower Mehrabad. My diary here. I spent a quiet morning and afternoon at Mehrabad. There were only a few people there, and it was quite nice. At one point, Mansari came up and offered me an artificial garland, which had decorated Baba's picture in the tomb for several months. I accepted it happily and wondered what I had done to accept such a boon. After working on my journal in the early afternoon, I headed down the hill and waited for an hour or so at the bus stop until I was picked up by a truck, which took me nearly the whole distance to Ahmednagar. Now, those days, we were either on bicycles or we were flagging down trucks and buses. Somehow, waiting in India can be almost joyful if one is not in a hurry. You just take a seat by the roadside, enjoy the stillness and the beauty of the day, and take in the whole variety of life which passes by. Peasant farmers driving their bullock carts, which are either loaded with produce or crammed with a staggering number of family members, all squatting on their haunches. Young boys, young and old men on bicycles, sometimes in pairs or more and chatting gaily. Peasant women walking by in brightly colored saris, carrying jugs or sacks on their heads. Buses or trucks roaring by and kicking up clouds of dust. Animals, cows, goats, lambs, sometimes one or two, sometimes whole herds driven by shepherds. There was never a dull moment on an Indian road. And I thought to myself at the time, I can just experience India sitting here at the foot of Baba's Hill in front of that road. And of course, as you'll notice, I didn't mention the omnipresent motorcycles and motorbikes. This is the 70s, where there were bullock carts on the road. There were people walking from Arangown to Ahmednagar. It was entirely different, very quiet, very bucolic back then. So that's just a memory, a very happy memory. And I've got another story from Erich here. Before we have some more songs, let me see. Yes. 1974, page 10. A couple of stories, actually. Back when Bob was on the Must tours, and they were in, this is probably the late 30s, early 40s, they were in the Rishikesh area. And Erich was passing through that area. He was going to meet Baba. Baba had come back from a tour, and Erich wasn't on the tour, and he was walking through a certain area in Rishikesh where all these little white, very small white domed structures. And in each of them there would be a soul meditating, praying to God, seeking God, a very sincere seeker. So as he was walking, he came upon a young boy, maybe 13 or 14 years old, in one of these little huts. And this was during that period of time where Baba was encouraging the Mandali to bring him the perfect boy. So he went back, he met Baba, and he described the boy to Baba, and he urged Baba to come with him. He thought the boy really was a very special soul. So Baba came with him, and Erich approached the boy with Baba sort of standing in the background, and he said, "What are you doing here?" And the boy said, "I have left my village, my town of Ambala. I have come here to seek God. I've left everything behind." And Erich said, "Well, do you have a guru?" And the boy said, "No, I don't have a guru. They all talk too much. I'm looking for a quiet guru, a silent guru." Well, that was Erich's cue. He introduced Baba to the boy, and the boy accepted Baba immediately. Baba accepted the boy as he would be the boy's guru, and he gave the boy 3 orders. One was never to do any lustful actions. The second was he was to beg for his food, which meant he couldn't have any money on his hands. He was not to touch money. And the third was Baba encouraged him to have a mantra, something to repeat. And he told the boy he could pick whatever he wanted. So the boy picked something like Om Parabrahma, something like that. And then Baba said to the boy, "I am now your master. You will never see me again, but you must obey these orders." So Baba and Erich left, and Erich said that he made 3 separate trips back to the boy, bringing him prasad from Baba, a mat, some cooking equipment, some flour, a blanket, and a photo medal, a Baba button. And the boy received them very gratefully. And Erich said, well, they packed up, they were leaving the next morning in the bus, and they happened to see the boy walking along the road with some of these things balanced on his head, some of them under his arm. And the bus stopped, and Erich said, "Where are you going?" And the boy said, "My master has left the area. I no longer have any business to be here." So that's a story with a happy ending. And Baba, maybe that was the perfect boy. I don't know. Baba never said. Now, I've got one other story. Some of you might have heard this before. This takes place in Mahabaleshwar in the 1950s. And again, it was at a time when Baba was searching for the perfect boy. So one day, Chuggan Master, and you add Master on his name because he was a teacher in the Pramashram school. Chuggan Master was at a tea shop. And there was this young fellow, maybe 12 or 13, serving tea. And Chuggin sort of looked him up and down and said to himself, I'm going to bring this fellow to Baba. So he brings the boy to Baba. And the boy's introduced, very happy to see Baba. Baba's happy to see the boy, but as Baba's looking the boy over, he notices a bruise on the boy's knee. And he really starts chewing out, Chuggin Master, you brought me an imperfect boy. How can you do this? You have to take this boy to Padre in Merabat so the Padre can help him heal up his bruise. Well, being a slave of the master, Chuggin Master did not question Baba. And he took the boy to a bus, and the bus had to go from Mahabaleshwar to Pune. Then they would change buses to get the bus to Merabat. But as they're sitting on the bus, Chuggin Master's thinking to himself, what is this? Baba's sending me 6 hours to Padre? There's doctors in Mahabaleshwar. There's Baba's own doctors. There's Dr. Nailu. There's Dr. Gohar. He didn't understand. So they get to Pune, and they're just getting off the bus and started to walking across the grounds to the other bus when all of a sudden a woman starts crying hysterically. My son, my beloved son. Oh, I found you. I found you. I found you at last. And mother hugs son and son hugs mother. And Chuggin Master is absolutely astonished and flabbergasted at this turn of events. He cables Baba and Baba cables back. My work is done. So that's another great story from Erich from the 1970s. I want to do this song, that the words of Dr. Donkin, the words of Baba in a poem he wrote to Dr. Donkin. It's called Just You and Me. I thought it was a perfect poem to put to song because every other line is just you and me. So if you want to sing along quietly, I'm going to be still a cappella. And let me get the words here in case I forget them. I think I should know them. I don't know if you can hear that motorcycle or not. Sometimes an ambulance will go by. I'm right in the middle of the city here, so. Okay, just you and me. In the moonlight, just you and me. When everything is bright, just you and me. In darkness or in light, just you and me. When everything is bright, just you and me. Just you and me. Just you and me. When devil is in flight, just you and me. When God is in sight, just you and me. Just you and me. Just you and me. When truth is all might, just you and me. When difficulties are slight, just you and me. Just you and me. Just you and me. In corners all tight, just you and me. When life is all plight, just you and me. Just you and me. Just you and me. In the moonlight, just you and me. When everything is bright, just you and me. Just you and me. Just you and me. I remember, maybe I've mentioned this before, but when Arnavas was confined to bed and I would visit her in Merazad, I had 2 or 3 occasions where I would be able to sing this to her, and she really liked it. And she would just look and stare off and just say, is there anything else? Is there anything else? Just you and me. I'm going to do a Jim Myers song, a cappella, but what I'd like to do is open it with a tune, one of the wonderful tunes that Jim has written. And I'm going to lower the computer here so you can actually see the dulcimer better than I can see it. I'm going to lower the mic, and I'm going to play a Jim Meyer tune, and then I'm going to raise things up again, and I'll sing this wonderful song that he doesn't, I don't think he sings it anymore. But first, I don't even know if Jim still. I don't even know if Jim still sings that song. It's from his first album. Never ask a sad heart why it's crying. Just an exquisitely beautiful, beautiful song. So I'm going to do, just in case, I think I know the words to this, but I'm going to get them just in case I need them. This is a song I learned from him in 1974. I have a tape recording of him singing. It's called This Old World Keeps Turning. Maybe he started to sing it again, but for some reason he stopped singing it. And he sort of said, I'm going to entrust this song to you. Go, okay, let's see what happens. And let me see if I can get my note here. G above C. This old world, there we go. This is a great song, one of my favorites. This old world keeps turning, darkness into day. For your love I'm burning, must you stay away? Now the moon is fading into another dawn. Still I am awaiting for your silent song. Beloved, I am crying for your presence now. Every breath is a sighing for your lovely brow. Mayhere I am singing songs of joy and pain. With each note I'm clinging to your holy name. Why must you be hidden from each passing day? The world has lost its meaning since you went away. Or are you before my eyes and I cannot see? Tear away these veils, Mayhere, show yourself to me. This old world keeps turning. For your love I'm burning. Now the moon is rising in the evening sky, tears of grief comprising the vision of my eye. While the moon is burning, darkness fills my heart. Thoughts of you returning, why must we remain apart? This old world keeps turning. It's just a great song. In fact, I remember when some of us used to go over and sing for Dun Sutta at Akbar Press, and Nashwan Mama would be there, and she loved that song. She would always request that song. have me sing it to her. So let's see where we are here. Oh, another song. Yeah, this is a song. This is one of those songs that came to me. I think I've been inspired to write some songs to help me get through rough periods in my life with Baba, which are many. But this is one called Someday. It sort of has a sort of a begin rhythm to it. You'll sort of have to imagine it because I'm going to do it a cappella. But I think it hits home. So, someday, somehow, some way, we'll meet again. Love will entreat again. Hearts will beat as one again. Someday. Someday, somehow, some way, love will call again. A crumbling wall again. We'll give our all again. Someday, some way. Let go the past, instead hold fast. Place all your faith in me. The world is but a bubble. Its schemes and dreams but rubble. Just trust and you will see that someday, somehow, some way, we'll meet again. Love will entreat again. Hearts will beat as one again. Someday, someday, somehow, some way, love will call again. A crumbling wall again. We'll give our all again. Someday, some way. The night is dark, my name a spark, a link to light your way. The path is long and winding, but my word for all time binding, a promise kept one day, that someday, somehow, some way, we'll meet again. Love will entreat again. Hearts will beat as one again. Someday, someday, somehow, some way, love will call again. A crumbling wall again. We'll give our all again. Someday, some way. Be brave and strong with fervor long. Be selfless, pure and true. Though doubt and fear assail, this love will never fail. My grace will see you through. Someday, somehow, some way, we'll meet again. Love will entreat again. Hearts will beat as one again. Someday, someday, somehow, some way, love will call again. A crumbling wall again. We'll give our all again. Someday, some way, someday, some way, someday, some way. I just remember that was written around the time on one of Bauji's tours. He was quoting Baba, sometime, somehow, somewhere, I'll meet my lovers old and new. So it just seems that was sort of, that coincided with that. Someday, maybe tomorrow. Okay, what do we got here? I've got a few more things for you guys. Okay, yeah. More Erich stories. And now Erich would tell stories not only of being with Baba, but he had many stories from different traditions, the saints, the sages, the other avatars. And I believe I had heard, or he might have even said that some of these stories were bedtime stories that the Daima used to tell him at bedtime. What a fortunate soul to have a mother who would tell stories like this. So I'm going to share a few of these with you. Get myself here. This is very brief. One of my favorite, and I've told this story in schools, although sometimes I have to explain the meaning to the children, but this is from 1974. Erich, we were in the afternoon, and by the way, we could stay like till 5 o'clock back then. So Erich was really, when he was there, he was on like in the mornings, he was on in the afternoons, along with Mani and all. In the afternoon, we got to talking about honesty, real honesty. Baba said that real honesty, real truth must be exercised when it is of help to others. Truth should be exercised only to help others. And he then told the story of Ali, Muhammad's disciple. And one day Ali was sitting on a bench outside the little mosque they had in Medina, one of their first houses of worship. And as he was sitting there, a terrified man, ran up, said, "Ali, please help me, save me, save me." And Ali waved him into the mosque. And then Ali heard a lot of voices and shouting and yelling, and a group of men ran up, and they said, but before these men ran up, Ali switched to a bench on the other side of the mosque. There were two benches out there. So the man goes inside, he's waved inside, and Ali quickly switches benches. And then this group of men runs up and are shouting, "Have you seen so-and-so? Has anybody run by here? Have you seen anybody?" And Ali said, "I have seen no one since I've been sitting on this bench." And the men ran off. And Eric said, you can draw your own conclusions from the story. So now we've got the story about 3 more lives. This is a great, great story. And this is from 1982. Page 37. Let's see, is that right? January? Yeah. There was once a dervish, a man who had left all and who wandered around absorbed in his Lord. One day he was making his way through a forest when he was noticed by a yogi. This yogi was taken by the man's appearance and summoned him over to where he was sitting. "Where are you going, friend?" he asked. "I'm going to see the Lord," replied the dervish. "Really? Will you take a message to him for me?" the yogi asked. "Surely," came the dervish's reply. "Tell him I've been meditating on him for such a long time. Has he noticed me? Does he approve of me?" The yogi told him that his greetings would be conveyed to the Lord. Now, a few hours later, the dervish wandered into a village adjoining the forest, and he encountered a townsman, a family man, who was also struck by the dervish's appearance. He too, like the yogi, inquired of his destination. When the dervish told him, the man asked him, "Would you take a message to him for me?" "Surely," said the dervish. "Tell the Lord that I love him." The dervish wandered and roamed for many years, and one day he chanced upon that same yogi in the forest. The yogi was anxious to hear if the Lord had sent him a message. The dervish told him, "The Lord is very pleased with your devotion all these years, and he wants me to tell you that it will only take 3 more lifetimes for you to achieve your cherished goal." "What?" cried the yogi in disbelief. 3 more lifetimes? He was crushed. A few days later, the dervish encountered the second man, who eagerly asked him if he had been to see the Lord. "Yes, I have, and he is pleased with your love for him." What? He took notice of me?" said the man. "Me? Oh, what joy, what joy," he cried out. "And moreover," the dervish told him, "he wants me to let you know that you have only 400 births, 400 more births before you realize him." "What?" cried the man in delight. So few, so few. Oh, how compassionate is my Lord." And with that he swooned and realized the goal of life. And Eric said, "Love alone counts, no expectations." Which reminds me of the message I got from Heather's biography on Mani, just a few words. Accept, don't expect. 3 words, that's the whole message from the book. Accept, don't expect. Okay, one more story. And actually there's 2, they kind of go together. And find it here. Yes, there was once a saintly personage. Now, there was a village by a river. There was once a saintly personage living nearby the village, and he was quite a homely, ugly man. He dressed in a threadbare robe, he was in bare feet, no sandals, and every once in a while he would have to go into the village to attend to business. And when he did, he was accosted. He was made fun of. He was pushed and poked. The children would throw stones at him. The dogs would nip at his heels. And he took it all very meekly, very humbly, just with it bowing his head and just accepting it. Well, one day he had to go on the ferry boat down the river. I think maybe something was his brother or some family member needed his help. He had to go see them. And there was a pretty large ferry boat that plied the river, and he got on the boat, and all these villagers got on with him, and all of a sudden, he found himself trapped. And they couldn't resist. They got him in a corner, and they were shouting at him and yelling at him and spitting on him and making fun of him. And of course, he was taking it all in stride, humbly, meekly, with his head bowed. Well, at that point, even the Lord got disgusted, and he spoke in the man's heart, and he said, "What's wrong with you? Why don't you defend yourself? Defend yourself. You are my special lover. Defend yourself." And his lover answered him and said, "Lord, if I really am your lover, then please don't the Lord had said to him, defend yourself or I will capsize the boat and drown everyone in it." And when his lover spoke to him, the lover said, "Please, please, if I am your lover, don't destroy the boat. Don't kill all these people. Open their inner eyes so that they can see the beauty of the love that you have sowed into my heart." And instantaneously, their eyes were opened and they saw that he was pure gold inside. And they started to caress him and embrace him and weep and ask his forgiveness. And that's the story, one of my favorite stories of the saint on the boat. And I'd sort of imagine, well, I can add a little bit to that when he returned after spending a couple of weeks with his brother, he found that the villagers had made a special seat for him in the village, and he became their saint. That's my own little addition to the story. Now, one more story that Eric's told right after this story. There was an aspiring lover of God who, like the first man, was ugly and suffered from a condition which produced boils all over his body, particularly on his face. Though hideous, people would be touched by his words, and their hearts would be purified in his presence. So ugly was he, yet he spoke of the beauty of the Lord. One day someone asked him, "You've cleansed our hearts and even cured our physical ailments. Why don't you cure yourself?" This lover of God, a simple, unassuming person, replied in humility, "My friend, don't ask me to deprive myself of the steps of the ladder which have enabled me to reach my beloved." Wow, I love that story. What I like to do is, I'm not really going to close with this song, but I really feel like I'd like to sing, I've got a couple more stories after that, but I'd like to sing Bauji's Hindi arti that he wrote for Baba. It's so beautiful. He wrote it in the 60s. It's sung, I think, once a week at the Samadhi. And it was put to tune by Manik Mehta, who I believe was the son of Rustam Kaka. They were in the 70s and 80s. Rustam was the main singer with the Ahmednagar group at the Ahmednagar meetings, and Manik, I believe, would play tablas, and he would also play violin, but he wouldn't hold it like this. I don't know if you've seen how Indians play violin. They rest it on their feet, and they play it like you're holding a saw with one end on your feet, and they kind of play it bending over, and he would play beautifully. So this is a translation of that arti. Primal consciousness, source of peace, we bow down, O Brahma. Please come, Meher God, accept our arti. I keep on burning the light of love in my heart and wait to see the stark darkness of ignorance extinguished. Whatever I have, I dedicate to you. Please, Meher, make me blissful. Accept our arti. May each and every breathing of my life become your movement, O God. Have mercy on us, O Master of the game, and shower your compassion on us. Meher God, accept our arti. May my life become your arti, resolving the wheel of beginning and end. May our eyes open and see the dawn of day. O Meher the beloved, may you engulf me. O God, Meher, accept our arti. Now each of these lines, most of these lines repeat themselves. So if you feel like you want to join in, maybe I'll just point my finger like this and that'll be your cue, but I'll sing both of them. We got an ambulance going by, so I got to wait till it goes by. Happens 24 hours a day. The ambulance headquarters is only 2 blocks away. Okay. Adi Sachetana, Shanti Niketana, Adi Sachetana, Shanti Niketana, Namo Brahma, Meher Prabhu, arati apnao. Meher Prabhu arati apnao. Adi Sachetana Shanti Niketana, Adi Sachetana Shanti Niketana, Namo Brahmao. Meher Prabhu arati apnao. Meher Prabhu arati apnao. Prema Deepa me hiye jalaon. Prema Deepa me hiye jalaon. Nibidandera mitatapaon. Nibidandera mitatapaon. Apana sab kucha tu me chardaon. Apana sab kucha tu me chardaon. Tu mamujja ko sarsao. Meher Prabhu arati apnao. Meher Prabhu arati apnao. Jivana ki hara sans hamari. Jivana ki hara sans hamari. Banajaye Prabhu gatitumari. Banajaye Prabhu gatitumari. He karunakara Leeladari, He Karunakara Leeladari, Tumakaruna Barsao Meher Prabhu Arati Apnao, Meher Prabhu Arati Apnao. Bane Arati Jivana Mera, Bane Arati Jivana Mera, Ariantaka lehogera, Ariantaka lehogera, Kulenayanara dike sabera, Kulenayanara dike sabera, Tumamuja me charjao, Meher Prabhu arati apnao, Meher Prabhu arati apnao. Adi Sachetana Shanti Niketana, Adi Sachetana Shanti Niketana, Namo Brahmao. Meher Prabhu arati apnao, Meher Prabhu arati apnao. Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai. I'm going to tell my favorite Eretz story that I heard in Manly Hall. And as far as I know, this has never been printed up anywhere. And it takes place centuries ago in Persia. And it so happens that there was once a one-armed thief. And this state of being one-armed did not come about by natural means or a mistake at birth or whatever. This man was a confirmed thief, and as was done in those times and may still be done in some parts of the Middle East these days, his hand was cut off for thieving. However, he was incorrigible, and so he would keep getting caught until finally his whole arm had been severed. And yet he would not give up. His thieving sanskaras were really, really, really strong. So one day he's reconnoitering a walled compound. And the gate is slightly ajar. It's in the evening. There's no moon out. It's quite dark. And he knew where all the cooking rooms were, and the bedrooms were, and the living rooms, the sitting rooms were in these places. So he got the feeling that the place was empty. So he made his way stealthily across the courtyard and came to the sitting room. And he kneeled down because there was no furniture, just cushions and carpets. And there were several small carpets there, but not too small. And he started feeling them. And if you feel the texture underneath the stitches, you can really tell how good a quality a carpet is. And he found one that he knew was a real treasure, and he knew he had to steal it. So he started to roll it up, and he rolled it up, and he realized it was too big for himself to hoist it up onto his shoulder. What to do? It was going to be a tremendous labor to try to drag it out of this place, and he would surely get caught, and he was kind of stuck. he didn't know what to do. And all of a sudden, he heard a very kindly voice behind him say, "Can I help you?" And he froze. "Here, let me help you." So that voice behind him helped him to hoist the carpet onto his shoulders. And the voice said, Come, we have to go before we are apprehended or caught or noticed." So they made their way quickly across the darkened courtyard, and the thief made his way in one direction out the gate, and his benefactor, who he'd never really seen, ran off in the other direction. Well, as Erich tells it, this thief had a kind of a weakness, an idiosyncrasy, you might say. He would always go back to the scene of the crime the next day to see if the authorities had been notified of the theft and if any steps were being taken. So he comes back to the compound. It's about early afternoon, and he notices that the gate is wide open. There's no one around, so just as if drawn by a magnet, he makes his way across the courtyard to that same sitting room, and he sees that a group of men are sitting there and that someone is giving a lecture. And immediately he was noticed. And a voice said, Come, friend, come, join us. Come, please come and join us." And room was made for him in the front row, and he sat down. And the voice continued to talk, and then he realized something. That kindly voice that he was hearing was the same voice that he had heard the evening before, and he froze, and he looked around, and he realized there was no way to get out of this. He had to just sit there and listen. And as the man spoke, he began to speak of divine love and the Lord and the spiritual path and the experiences of the spiritual path. And not only was he speaking of this, but it seemed like this very essence of this love was flowing from this man and flowing into his being, flowing into his heart. And as this happened, something started to melt in that heart. And as it started to melt, tears started to flow down his cheeks, and they started to come in torrents. And it seemed to him as if his whole sordid life was passing in front of him. There was absolute silence in the room, and when he stopped weeping and everyone was quiet, that kindly voice said, "Tell us, friend, what has brought you to this point in life?" And he told the story of his life, and he ended up by saying, "Up until this day, society has confined me and branded me as a thief. But today, just a short time in your presence, I am confined and branded in divine love." And that is a story from the great perfect master, who was, I believe, Erich said and Baba had said, he was the Kutub il-Irshad, the head of the spiritual hierarchy, Bayazid, B-A-Y-A-Z-I-D, from Bestam in Iran. And I looked up in Lord Meher, and Baba has quoted Bayazid at least 6 or 8 or 10 times, telling stories from his life. Anyway, that's my favorite story that I ever heard. I only heard Erich tell it once in Mondley Hall. I'd like to close with one kind of humorous story. Let's leave off here with a smile in our hearts and on our faces. This is from September 1982. You may have heard the story, but you may have not heard how I wrote it down. So let's see. 982, September 82, page 15 and 16. I seem to have written down the wrong. I may have to tell a story without looking up. I may have to, without cheating here. Let me see if I got it in this other one. 15 and 16. It's page 15 and 16 in one of these 4 books. Here we go. I was in India twice in 1982, so this is the other, this is January 1982. And this is what I wrote. One really funny story was related by Erich. He and Pendu had been sent by Baba to Hamirpur in 1952 to spread the word of the coming of the Lord to these remote villages later that year. As they went from place to place, their hosts would serve them a delicious herbal drink, but never any chai. Finally, at one place, Erich felt compelled to ask, "Have you not heard of tea? The Lord loves this drink." Believe it or not, these simple folk had never heard of tea despite the long-time presence of the British in their homeland and its consequent spread to many regions of that country. Erich went on to tell them of a big town where they could purchase the tea, and of course how to prepare it. You get the boiling water, you add the packet of tea, the milk and the sugar, and then you have tea. When the pair of Mandali returned on their next visit to this area, their host brought up the subject of tea and asked them incredulously, "Does Baba really like this tea? You like it too?" "Yes, of course," was the reply. "It's very tasty." "But it's so bitter." "What's so bitter?" asked Erich. "The tea, it tastes so bitter." Erich and Pendu couldn't believe their ears and asked that a pot of tea be brewed in their presence. The woman of the house prepared the tea in the way that Erich had described and then did a most astonishing thing. After the mixture of tea, milk, and sugar had steeped for several minutes, the liquid was poured off and the soggy packet of tea leaves was presented to the men to eat. Needless to say, Erich had to explain to them that tea was a beverage and not tea leaves boiled in milk and sugar. So on that note, I think we're going to wind it up, Ruthie. And I've enjoyed you all, being with you all, and kind of a little different. And I have to say that it feels good to sing a cappella. I mean, it never hurt Tony Bennett or anybody like. By the way, did any of you see on and this is really inspiring, did you see the piece a few days, I think it was last Sunday night on 60 Minutes, of Tony Bennett at the age of 95? And they interview, you've got to look it up, they interview his wife and Lady Gaga and how he just goes up to the piano. He really has Alzheimer's bad. And all of a sudden, the minute his accompanist strikes up the tune, every song comes back. Every movement, all the arrangements, all come back. And there's some really nice shots of him and Lady Gaga doing some songs together. And you can just tell how much she loves him. And that's 60 Minutes this past Sunday night. A wonderful, wonderful video.
I saw a bit on Facebook. It was a promotion of their new CD
Yeah,
where Lady Gaga and Tony Bennett are sitting next to each other, and then I think he kisses her hand and she kisses his hand. It reminded me of Baba and Mera. In
yeah.
Merazad, there's that film where they're kissing each other's hand. Such a sweet love between them.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
All his sweetness is there, but if you would ask him, someone would ask him a few days later, how did you like the concert? He would have said, what concert? But the music is there. The music is ingrained because it's located, I think, in a different part of the brain from his recall memory. So that's an inspiring for any of us musicians who may make it to the age of 95. I don't know, but keep going, keep singing. Even if you lose your mind, just keep singing to Baba. Then you get home.
Sounded great, Bill. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you all for attending.
I kept being in the music room and listening and just part of that energy, and you really carry all that love and presence. So I thank you.
Well, Jai Baba. Let's hope that we can get back to the music room in the NPR one of these days too. We had some great sessions up there, great sing-along sessions.
Lovely.
Bill, I'd just like you to know that 3 years running, 73, 74, and 75, I studied Adi Sachetana with Rustam Kaka.
Oh, wonderful.
And Rustam Kaka was actually an India famous harmonium player for famous singers, as well as being the Bhajan Mandali of the day in Ahmednagar.
Yeah, that was, I loved going to those Ahmednagar meetings and just how everyone's sitting in a semicircle facing Baba's picture, and everybody's sort of being one when they're doing that and singing those wonderful songs.
Amazing. Yeah, in 73, his son was just a young teenager. So I think Rustam had a lot of input into that melody, actually.
Oh, good. Did you ever see Manik play the violin?
Oh, of course.
Okay,
Always
yeah.
come at Naga meetings. Every year. 30 trips.
Oh, good for you. Okay, everybody, I'm going to...
Bill,
Yes.
Bill, I wanted to share something. This
Sure.
is something that Baba, I heard from Tom Riley, and Darwin and Joseph Harb were on their way to meet with Baba. And Darwin, intuitive that he was, says, "Come on along, Tom." And they went, and what Baba said, it says, "When my presence within you becomes familiar, there will be no need for you to return to India." I like
No.
saying that because people are saying, "Get back to India."
Right, right.
You
There's
know,
well,
I mean, yeah. And
I would say when that happens, there's no need to go anywhere.
yeah, yeah,
Myrtle
yeah.
Beach.
But you know,
There's no
I
need
mean,
to go to a Baba meeting. I was thinking the other day, these great souls like Asfandyar or these great souls throughout history, I think they would come to a point in their lives where they realized everything was a distraction. Everything.
no, you know, it was funny one meeting at the center, but Esfandiar was whatever the speaker. He just sat there. He Nothing was said. It was so good, but I mean, you know, like some people got uncomfortable and kind of filed out. But
Well,
you
Rosalie,
know, he was not into talking. He was into the experience. Yeah.
why don't we do that right now and take a moment of silence together? Thank you, Bill. Jai Baba.
Hey, Baba.
Baba,
Thank you, Bill.
Baba.
Delightful concert.
Thank you, Baba. Thank you, Baba. And wishing you all sweet Baba dreams tonight. Good night, everyone. Jai Baba.
Good night, Jay Baba.
Baba.